Hello, Gophers. You're listening to Go Podcast. I'm Dominic St-Pierre.
And I am Morten.
And we are back. Sorry for last week. We were supposed to have a guest, and unfortunately, they rescheduled. So, it was Wednesday. We record normally on Monday. We launched the episode on Thursday. So, Morten was out of the office. I don't know if you can say you were on vacation or whatnot, but yeah. You were not
we
there.
We can call it vacation. I was on vacation, and I would have to have recorded through, I don't know, a phone, so I don't think it would have been very pleasant to listen to. I finally fixed my audio issues. I would like to not go back to the olden days of bad audio.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty the story of why there were no episode last week. But I mean, we will have Thorsten Ball is going to come to the show, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah. So what have you been up to? So I guess if you were on vacation, it was pretty calm for you last week.
Yeah, my parents. We went to visit my parents and some friends back in Denmark, and my parents just got a new puppy, so I did not get much coding done. I was just playing with the dog all week, so that was amazing. But I did get a little bit of work done on Doodle, my framework. That is, I think I'm happy now. I think I'm starting to approach a point where I'm going to start to work towards a release candidate of version 1. The API is starting to become steady. I've added all the features, so now it's basically just getting proper testing. I did used to have a lot of testing, but then I changed so much that didn't really work much, since this is a project that's mainly templates and manipulating templates. So I use a lot of golden file testing for this, and that is just not worthwhile when you change the structure a lot. So now that the structure has stabilized, I am starting to add in a lot of golden file tests. So I got a little bit of that done last week, which was nice. Still missing a few more test cases, but been doing some work there, and that's been great. Kind of regretting a little bit the scope of the framework. I think I have. If I want to test every combination you can run, I think there's 48 right now. Product scaffolds I have to look through and ensure that are okay, because you can have Tailwind for CSS, you can have normal CSS, you can have Docker, you can have, what more do I have for extensions? Maybe that's actually it for the extension, but then I also have different dependency injections. I started playing around with, I don't know if you know, UberFX have as a package that handle that for you, and it's actually quite nice. So now I have 2 modes for that to play around with, and I have I also added support for inertia. Your tales about developing the UI purely through LLMs kind of got to me a little bit, so I wanted to explore inertia, which was actually a feature request very early on in the day. So that was pretty last week, like trying to make sure every test case is covered
There's a couple of things that we can expand. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the dependency injection. I typically, because I guess it was to make your test a little bit easier, first of all.
It was basically just to reduce the amount of wiring that you should do. So typically, Go people, we like to do everything by hand, do it ourselves. But the aim of the framework is also to just remove stuff and get you to focus on writing business logic. And I think UberFX makes the entry point to build the application maybe clean, and it makes everything a little bit modularized. So it makes sure that you get the dependencies that everything needs. So it just becomes a bit cleaner, but it is also another tool to learn and a tool to manage.
Yeah. Do you have a precise example? So let's say, I don't know, do you have a particular pieces of your code that were having a lot of dependencies that it truly helps? So if I understand correctly, you have some kind of struct that might have field inside that are other structure or things like that bring some kind of functionality. So you want to make sure that everything is created. And from my point of view, dependency injection is really nice when you can easily replace an implementation for tests. So
yeah. So mainly, so everything is a model view controller, and of course, in that framework, that architecture, there's a lot of dependency injection around the controllers. So I had a big function in the main.go file where the generator would inject new controllers, and pass the dependencies, and that whole thing just becomes so they stay the same. It's just a controller struct name and then a new function to initialize it and create it. And those things were just added to a huge list in the controller as the project grew. And I was using a comment to kind of point the generator towards where to inject it. So I was just, can I make this a little bit more modularized? So with UberFX, I just have in the controller.go file under the controllers package where I define dependencies. So it handles to create those dependencies, and then it'll just initialize the new controllers, everything in the controller package, and then it's just a module I can import in through UberFX.
Okay, so you define that where? Is it like a Go definition, or it's like a config file of some sort saying that when you have this type, it should have X, Y, and Z other types, for example?
No, it's just the controller struct just says what it needs, and then I have a big provider function, which is just telling FX that, okay, you need to initialize this struct, and this struct has these dependencies, and UberFX then figures out to make sure to pass on those dependencies to that struct. So it just becomes a module inside of controllers.go file, and it's just a variable that gets added to. Okay, sounds a little bit skeptical.
No, but okay, but I'm not sure what the library is bringing you exactly, because you just said the magic word there is just a variable inside the structure. So let me, I'm just doing the devil advocate. I don't know the library at all, so it's pretty hard for me to to attest what it does exactly. But what you just said is that, well, we have some variables. So let's say we have a struct. Let's pick a concrete 100% example. Let's say we have in your case, let's just call that a controller. I'm sure there's a couple of gophers that will cringe at that word, but let's play the game a little bit.
Let's call handlers so we don't get hate mail.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's say we are building this to-do application, so it's pretty ubiquitous. Everyone is understanding that. So we have a task controller. Let's have it. I guess the dependencies that you're talking about are probably going to be I need to have access to some kind of repository to CRUD the task in a sense. So that would be one dependencies, probably maybe a logger and a couple. I guess those are the kind of dependencies that you are talking about in your controller. Okay. So and I guess the difficulties in your case is that you don't know firsthand what will be the controller that the user that is using your framework will want. So that is probably what is complicated. So is it what I'm understanding? So you have some kind of generator that generate this controller class, and those dependencies are injected from this library.
They handle UberFX handles all of the injections to that struct, to that new function, and make sure it has what it needs. So you basically you do a little bit less wiring yourself, passing the dependencies. That is the main thing of it, and then I could modularize it a bit more. So I have basically just have a controller variable. I have a variable in controller that's called module. I just have this list of everything that FX needs to ensure has the dependencies that they need, and then it handles the whole life cycle of making sure that all of the entire dependencies of the project have what they need.
Okay.
It's something I've used before with a client of mine where we had it was basically that was built on top of AWS infrastructure, and we had a bunch of essentially GraphQL handlers where they would of course do different kinds of things, and it would be a little bit of an event-driven system, and there we just used FX to make that wiring a bit. I hate to use the word cleaner, but it is cleaner because you don't have to do much of the typing yourself, because they will, like, you define it once and then you can reuse it across other modules or dependencies that gets passed on to whatever needs it. I can hear when I'm talking now that I'm not explaining this very well.
No, I think I understand a little bit. Yeah, it's just, well, first of all, it's hard for me to put myself in your shoes because I'm not having a lot of dynamic code myself, so it's rare that I'm generating code at compile time and whatnot.
We're not generating code at compile time.
Okay.
It is minimal what you get on top. It depends on how you look at minimal, right? As a lot of other people from other languages will look at what you write in Go and say, this is not minimal at all. Like, why do I need to type all these words out, So like it's in the eyes of the beholder as to who actually believe this is relevant or not. But I do like it so far. I need to test it out. That's why it's not it's not the only option. You can still do what I call manual, which is how I've always done it. So it's just a new function, and then you have to go in and pass the dependencies to that. But what Andural tries to do is to make the whole, I have a new resource, I need to be able to create, update, delete, whatever of that resource. So it will go in and create the controller, the model, the view, the routes, and it will try to set that up for you. So it's just one command, and then you have everything you need to start interacting with that resource. Very, very low level, not low level, very simple Rails-like workflow. So the goal with FX was simply to make the amount of code that you need to type there smaller, and then I also wanted to get rid of my pointer approach, because I used to have a little comment that will tell the generator where to place a new controller, which is a little bit brittle. So with that, it's easier for it to just pass a variable that holds that just needs I can't remember right now if fx struct. No, I can't remember what it is. But it's easier. The code around it is easier to inject it so that you don't need to have a comment at a specific place to place the new dependencies. Again, most people will probably say, why don't you just type it out? And I'm like, I don't want to type it out. I want to I want to get to the business logic of the
it's your project. You can do whatever you want. So what is the type of this module variable? Is it like an array of something, and after that you need to cast that into the proper type?
No. You just let me actually see if I have a project with it right now, because it's very simply. No, I do not have it right now. But you just pass it a type. You can also pass it an interface, and then you can through FX cast it. So if you have something that should be defined, like I said, with the repository pattern, you can say like this thing as this interface,
right?
And then it would make sure that it fulfills that interface and have the dependencies it needs to use that struct. For example, I do that with my database struct, where we have some methods, like I have a little interface that I kind of built the database layer around. So I call it, what is it? It's a storage.pool. Yeah, it's in a storage package, and it's a pool interface. Pool interface, is that what I call it? And then it's just make sure that whatever we wrap the database connection around has these methods, because then we build all of the database access pattern around that interface. And then you can just say, okay, we have this struct and it has to fulfill this interface, and then FX will go in and make sure, okay, it fulfills this, and it needs these dependencies. Here are these dependencies. Of course, you still need to provide those dependencies at some point in the life cycle, but it does cut down on the amount of code and quote unquote wiring you need to do, which is, I think, is nice, because with deploy create, as the project grew, it's not even that big right now. I think it's probably at, I don't know, 30, 40 controllers or something, but it does increase, it does grow, and I like to just be able to say, okay, I need to focus on each controller's dependencies and not necessarily how it gets initialized, so FX can take care of that for me. But again, do I like it in the end? I'm not entirely sure. I was like this little spider sensey tinkling thing that was like, this could make it nicer long term to maintain this. And now I'm also getting to write. I want to add some predefined integration test for the project where I could probably reuse some of this. Some of the modules, because they will just say, okay, I need these controllers, and then I can basically just do across entire controllers if I wanted to. That's probably more relevant if I'm going to do some E2E testing instead of integration test. But yeah, it cuts down on what you need to do yourself, and that is
that's good.
One of the goals of this project.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's a question of taste, and not taste, but preference at the end of the day, and depending on, because it's still feel, and I hear that like it seems like C# a little bit, but again, I mean you're not the. If it helps, it helps. I mean, I don't know. I never used that in Go. I never used any dependency injection library and things like that. Yeah. I prefer to stay with interface.
Yeah.
And just have some different implementation depending on what I want to do.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard.
But you can definitely still do that. You can still build it around the repository pattern if you wanted to. I'm aware of the fact that I'm committing Go crimes.
Oh no, not at all. Speaking of that, my database interface in StaticBackend has like I think I am at 50 function now. So I mean, what it is exactly at the end of the day, it's a gigantesque thing that could have been done, differently and whatnot. I mean, it's pretty hard to let's face it. It's very difficult to build any kind of system and whatnot. I mean, there's no one way to do things.
No. So it is. It's an option, and also one of the things with this project was also to see like how would this look like, and it is purely driven. I'm gonna hate this word, but it's purely driven by vibes, because there is. Because most of my professional career has been spent in Go, but building Go APIs. So
yeah,
I know this is like if I take on a new client, unless they ask me, hey, can we build this in Andodal, I would not do this type of setup for their application. Not because I think what I'm doing is bad. I think it works very well if you want to adopt this hypermedia MVC approach to building an application, right? But for like a regular JSON data API, I would not do this, but because you have like the thing is also what like who you're gonna work together with, and they need to understand intuitively like how does this work. Like they need to be able to guess where things are and how they are done, so you follow the regular conventions, right? So that's also why you need to, if you want to do something like Andodal, it's documented what you do, and then you do it that way. But you still need everyone to be on board with how that works.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And what about the UI? So you were mentioning. Let me tell you how I'm doing it at the moment, and we will see if if it looks like what you tried. So it's not like I'm letting the LLM do all the things in the UI. First of all, I I kind of present the LLM a lot of ASCII representation of what I want. So let's say we are starting from scratch. So the first thing that I would do is I tell the LLM, you know what, we will need this layout. Make sure we have the nav bar at the top, and I do I do the representation of where things are in an ASCII form. So usually I'm not typing in the terminal. I always open like a notepad because yes, I am on Windows for accessibility reasons. I don't care, but yeah, I type that in there with all the like I was saying the ASCII representation, and this is what gets outputted. I do not really let the LLM decide what controls are we going to use and whatnot. So I tend to decide, all of the content of the page, and so far it's working pretty good. I've noticed that when I let it go without that much end holding, it's often not really creating what I would consider good UI. Especially, it might not be accessible. So, so this is how I'm doing that, and usually, everything is done in terms of this is where you will take the data from let's say we will have a list of X. So this is how you would get the data and things like that. So this is mainly what I'm using AI or LM these days for since the beginning, and it's working great. Even if it's in React, and I hate that a lot because the build time is abysmal, and the runtime is starting to feel a little bit slow in my taste because I go very fast. I navigate probably quicker than anyone because I use the keyboard to navigate. So I don't, I never use a mouse in a website. So for me, if I know the interface that I'm working with, it's pretty fast because I just do it's pretty quick, and sometimes React is not the fastest, and the build asset is just crazy big, but yeah, this is how I'm doing it, and so far, I mean, it's pretty. I would say it's good. It's way better than what I could do anyway. So this is the win for me.
Nice.
So how are you approaching that?
So I'm exploring inertia purely based on the promise I have read of inertia. I've never used inertia before, but would also like to have the option of giving, for certain situations, the LLM the option to just be able to run with it in terms of tools that it knows. And I think that's where inertia comes in, because I can keep the whole MVC set up and then just pass data from the controller directly to the view. Like right now I'm using Vue for inertia. That's the only one that's supported. So it's just a map of string, something that map any, I can't remember, that get passed down to the template, and then it showcases the data. But given that I can now just point the LLM to a Vue, quote unquote project, install StaticCDN components, and say I need you to build me a dashboard. Use these components. Maybe I give it a picture of saying like, hey, I want it in this style. My early test of this has been promising, but it's also one of those where I'm like, okay, I need to not really care about the code that much, because whenever I build deploy create, I use Andolo as I envision it. It is data star on the front end to create the interactivity. Everything is server driven, and that is extremely nice. It works really, really well. It's fast, it's snappy. The logic is where it's supposed to be. State is where it's supposed to be. But the LLM is also not necessarily the best at using data star. It hallucinates attributes it doesn't have, or it creates all these overly complex scenarios. So I don't really want to use inertia, but I have projects where I'm like, okay, I kind of don't really care, because like I have for my freelance consultancy business, whatever, I have a site for that where I need a dashboard to manage the content, like case studies or whatever. And I don't really care, because I'm gonna be the only one using it, and it can be a little bit crappy. It doesn't really matter. It just needs to be there. So having a stack that I know and I really like to work with, and then just have, I don't know, ChatGPT, whatever, run with ChatCDN components, build that out, seems like an ideal thing, but it's mainly driven from the fact that I don't really care about that particular UI. If it's going to be good or not yet, I do not know. I will still have to build out the dashboard using that approach. But it does seem like a nice option, because you can kind of just jump into Vue whenever you want to. And that is also, I think, one of there's certain types of UI components where it is probably easier to build that in like an SPA style workflow, simply because whatever tooling or libraries or packages are available, and you can just turn one single page into a Vue component with this setup if you want to, and everything else can just be data star, can just be Temple, and feels nice and reasonable. So I think there's like some interesting promises around this project, or around inertia, that at least was in my mind valid enough to try and explore and add it as an option.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because I'm still just dealing with Doodle defines routes, so you have like strictly typed routes definitions for everything. So routes only changed in one place, and you can still just use that with the Vue views, and then the controller just renders the Vue component instead. Then everything just gets compiled down to a single binary where the Vue part gets built and included in the binary through embed. So it just gets shipped very fast out. I mean, I think it's interesting. There was a guy who asked me to review a huge pull request where he was adding inertia support, and I was like, this is not really the time. But now it's there, and I will simply have to play around, because that's most of how I explore things. I need to build something with something, and then kind of. Yeah, so if it sounds good, if it feels good on paper, I'm like, okay, let's build something with it, and then I can always pull it out, you know.
Yeah. That's why I'm not at all regretting my choice so far, because the joy of me not touching the UI is way higher than me knowing that, all right, you know what, this code is probably not optimal.
Yeah,
I just don't care. The goal of my product at the moment is to provide, values for customers, and it's not going to make a difference if there is, twice the line of code in the code. They don't care about that, as long as it's doing the job, decently, and from a UI standpoint, it's acceptable, and it's good, and it's pretty great. I mean, from what I can hear so far, anyway, I mean, the UI is pretty simple, but again, it's not the LLM that decided, about my UI. It's just executing what I want. So this is how I'm using that, and seems that you might find your way, and yeah, you got that right. I think once you let it go, and of course, I will never open it. I will. I have never really looked, but that's also why I picked React, because I knew that this is going, React and TypeScript. This is going to be what the training data is having the most, and probably what the LLM will have the most easier part to do its thing.
Yeah.
And so so far it's working. It's working pretty decently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's just certain situation where that is, that's the path forward. If you don't have like a huge team or you are solo,
exactly.
or whatever, like you do need to make trade-offs that you don't necessarily want to do, but for the sake of like progress, right? And they are just trained on way more from the JavaScript Node ecosystem.
I really, I much prefer let it take care of my UI than helping me with anything related to marketing and whatnot. I mean, people seems to be posting. I mean, just stop using LLM to create your images and whatnot. This is ridiculous. I mean, I'm not seeing the images myself because I am not seeing enough anymore to see picture. But what I hear from my family, my wife and my kids, I mean, this seems to be so ridiculous, and I cannot say it myself because I cannot see it, but it just, I mean, wow. So yeah, you know what? I feel good about the LLM writing my UI, and I still continue to talk to customers and still continue to do more marketing. I think this is a much better approach in my situation.
Yeah, I've also tried to generate like thumbnails or banners or all these kind of things with AI, and I'm just getting to the point where like I would rather have something ugly that is human made than these clearly created. Because like my banner on LinkedIn, for example, I was like, this will work well, and now I look at it, it's like, this is crap. I need to redo it. But it's very clear that this is the software developer who has made this banner. But it's not this weird like purple type of banner that you can just tell straight away when it's this low effort low effort generative. And then also whenever I do any kind of like, if I have to write, I have been writing a lot of like comparison articles to other projects to deploy Quid. I will also like get an agent to go out, research it, and write me a script for this, or a draft. And then you go through it, and you can just see like this is so clear that it is LLM written text, and you need to go through and edit it. So maybe you save some time, but the thing with the images, like you can't really go in afterwards and fix the visual mistakes of the LLM. And if you could, you probably would just build it from scratch yourself. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. So, all right, it seems like you have done much in during your vacation. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, this is also like, I have to admit that Doodle is also a LLM driven project because it's template manipulation. Yeah. So it's basically been having having ChatGPT help me set up a lot of golden file testing, which is it's doable when you're on holiday. I definitely did not sit and write a lot of code myself. So it's cool. It's been good. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Speaking of open source project, I was having this existential crisis lately regarding StaticBackend a little bit, because if you recall, I started to do some monitoring of the queries. Well, not the queries per se, but all the endpoints of the StaticBackend API, and everything that was more than 150 milliseconds, I was logging that.
Yeah.
There's a lot. The LLM was great. For me, getting a log file of, I don't know, 200 lines is pretty dirty. You have to remember that a blind user is going line by line. I cannot quickly scan a page of text. That is not possible. this is a huge help for me. LLM for me is great for accessibility things like that. So I had it categorize the queries and whatnot, and not surprisingly enough, the orders table was the one that was getting the slowest request so far and things like that. So started to create the indexes in the database, and now it hits, and it always hits so far. So whenever I'm using static backend, there's always this, what if I were to use normal things? What if I were to use, good old Postgres SQL database with real fields and things like that? Because, let me back a little bit. So I was investigating the other day. I was looking at the people that were doing trials and whatnot, because I started to do onboarding messages and whatnot and things. I wanted to just have a quick overview of where people are. And while I was, using the CLI, because you need to understand that static backend is, let's say I create a table in my system. So let's say I have a online store for my user and whatnot. So they have a product table, they have orders and whatnot. That typical stuff. What it gets created on the Postgres database is just a table that do have an ID, an account ID, and a created at. And the rest is a data field, which is a JSON-B data type in Postgres. So basically, you just shove some JSON in there, and it's totally transparent. So when the user is receiving the object, the ID, the account ID, and what I would call the system fields, which are normal, quote unquote normal Postgres fields, they are flattened with the JSON-B data. Where I was going with that. So if you imagine that, it's pretty hard to do any kind of queries, because now, it's either I go to Postgres, the PSQL thing, and I do like the query with my JSON-B data is called data. So I will do data dash greater, and now the name of the field. It's just not SQL at the end of the day. You need to know all the operator that operates on the JSON data. This gets crazy at some point.
Yeah.
While I was doing that, I found that I had a paying customer that arrived from nowhere. We did not talk to that person. So that was probably last week or the other week, since we did not talk last week. I think it's 2 weeks ago. Whatever. And I was so excited. I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is the first paying customer that we have that we never talked to so far. I was like, I was crazy. I was happy. But I was at the same time very sad, because now I'm trying to do some queries. I'm trying to use my CLI. I cannot easily access the data. It's like, wow, what am I doing here? So I do what all programmers are doing when we have a problem like that, and we are not comfortable. I said, all right, it's time to migrate. There's just no other way. So fall into that rabbit hole of, okay, how do we do that? Yeah, turns out it lasts like 2 days, and at some point I was like, oh, screw that, man, it's too late. I cannot do that anymore. This is so scary to remove the engine from the car and replace. Well, it's not just the engine; it's all the engine, the transmission, all the pieces of the car that I would need to replace. This is crazy.
Yeah, you would have to do a lot of. Well, I guess you have to do a lot of like auto-generating migration files and manage that. And
the data is not that bad, because at the end of the day, I do have all the libraries to do that. So I could do a backend.list on the table. This this converts the the data properly to a Go structure already. So I could have this and reload that. The data migration is not very scary. What is scary though is that, I mean, at this moment I do have some calls in the front end, because static backend is like it's like Supabase or Firebase and things like that. So you can call your database from the front end and the backend as well. So I would need to do some kind of proxy now everywhere on the front end that I call static backend. I would need to proxy that to my Go server, and I mean it was already starting to be dirty. Now I have the full text search that I would need to redo in SQL, because it's using the Believe Go library. There was so many things, and now the place where I am with the SaaS is that I cannot do that now. This is not what I need to do. There is potential customers that are waiting for feature to convert. I'm not saying it's scaling or it's taking off, but there is people that are interested at the moment. This have not happened to me, since Roadmap in 2017. My another product that I built.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no. Okay. Let's try to be calm. Let's try to think about what's happening at the moment. This is my programmer's hat that is speaking. Is it really a problem at the moment? Is the system working? Yes. Do I have difficulties doing some queries and whatnot? Yes. What can I do about? So I created a dashboard. I created a couple of things that makes that a little bit easier to see exactly, because I did not want it to miss another potential customer. I want to reach out. I want to propose a call, a one-on-one call and whatnot, and things like that. So that was another crisis I had with Static Backend. It's funny because I chose it because at first it was not a SaaS that I was building. I was building an application, a one-person application for my wife, for her agency, right? To do proposal, invoicing, and things like that. And now it turns to be a full, a major SaaS at the moment. And if I knew what I was building at first, I would not have choose Static Backend. That's a fact. I just wanted to save some time, and yeah, the project changed. But now I'm kind of stuck,
Yeah, but maybe I'm misunderstanding it, because I thought when you talked about rewriting it to be more Postgres style, that you wanted to make the queries easier. Wouldn't that involve converting all the data columns into actual columns?
Yeah.
Or is yeah. So that's what I like. What I was thinking, like with the migrations, like you would need to.
So that's still the easy part, because like I was saying, the backend already have a way to read the data from there, transform that to a proper Go structure with all the proper type. I would just, let's say if I were to use SQL C, and I create the migration for all the tables and the real Postgres table. Now it's just a way to map the current structure to what SQL C is creating, and that's it. I'm just.
Oh yeah, but I was
inserting.
still thinking, like doing that in a dynamic way going forward. That also sounds like I would be a little bit scary about that. Because you would auto-generate migrations and manage up and down migrations whenever your users of the framework of Static Backend is adding or removing fields. I presume it's easier when it's
it would be a one thing. It would be like, Saturday morning at 6, I run the migration, I take down Static Backend, and that's it. That's the end of Static Backend. It will not be running in parallel.
No, but I'm still like, if you okay, maybe I'm completely getting this wrong because I'm still thinking that you would migrate away from the approach of having a data column and then starting to auto generate columns based on the users of static backend for this to work, right?
But I am the user of StaticBackend. I know the types because I already, I'm using types in TypeScript. I'm using types in Go. All the database have a Go structure at the moment. All of them. So even though in the database it's a JSON file on, when you do, let's say backend.get by ID. Let's say we want to grab a record from a table. Let's say the store order table. So I do backend.get by ID. I pass a token, whatever what I pass. But what I'm receiving is a store order. This is a Go structure with all the fields of the JSON object in the Postgres properly typed. I never work with dynamic type in Go or TypeScript.
Yeah, no, I must be misimagining what the because I was just thinking from like a static backend point of view from other like I get it. Okay, so where did we end up? So what you fix?
Well, I would need to write first of all I would need to write a lot of queries because one very easy and important fact that in static backend is that the update function is doing a patch. So I can just pass a subset of an object and it just update those 2 or 3 fields. So that means that now I would need to have a lot of functions in SQL C. Well, not function, but let's say queries in a file to replicate all this update. So there's a lot of work that would need to be done. Plus, it's scary because now the product it's in production. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think I would have a very easy way to ensure that this migration from static backend to pure Go and Postgres is working well. At 100%. I do have some end-to-end tests, but I don't know. It felt very dangerous at the moment, and I know that waiting is going to be worst. But what I'm hoping at the moment is that maybe at some point I will have enough money to say, in the first 3 months, I'm going to let it go of static backend. But maybe at that time, it won't be a problem anymore. I don't know. It was when you don't really have much progress, you tend to find things to work on. And as soon as I started to investigate that, we've got this major reviews on Facebook from the big customer that I was talking 3 weeks ago. And on their Facebook page, 80,000. I don't know Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. It's a page with a lot of people, and that brought a lot of signups. That brought a lot of questions and whatnot. We take this week. We have our first. We call that the ambassador. So people that. Maybe they are coaches. Maybe so they have relationship with other. They help businesses in Quebec and whatnot, and they will propose the product to their client, and in exchange they will get some percentage. So, I mean, it's not the proper time to do that, I think.
No,
and this is the product manager. This is the This is the person that wants to live from their product that say that. But my programmer instincts say, oh, you know what, you need to freaking just migrate this thing and just just have real database filled for once. It's it's a difficult position because again it would not have been my choice, knowing what I know today, of course. But I mean, at the end of the day, it might be too late for that. I don't know. It would be a huge, because static backend is doing it all. I mean, it's doing also the file storage, it's doing the caching, like I was saying, the full text search. There's the server side function that is doing it, all the event based things that I just can publish an event, and now there's some code that run. I mean, it's not just the database. So that's a lot. That is a lot.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds scary. Sounds scary to
well,
do
I will keep it. I will keep it, and I will continue to try and fix that. I mean, so far, like you were saying, I mean, well, 400 millisecond is not that bad, but again, the problem is that, like I was explaining the other day, so the front end goes to my Go server, and my Go server sometimes go to static backend. So that is already 2 network latency call that I have. That should not be there. Technically, the front end should go to the Go server, and the Go server talks to Postgres. It's already that, but now it's static backend, and static backend talks to Postgres.
Yeah.
So that is in fact 3 network calls. If you think about that, we go to my intermediary Go server. It's going to static backend, and static backend goes to Postgres. So yes, the 400 millisecond is not that bad, but those 3 network calls, probably add, I don't know, maybe 100 millisecond each. So we are now at 700, 800 millisecond. It starts to feel, we feel that a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm used to typing a query and you hit enter and boom, the data is there. It's not that.
No.
So, but again, I mean, on the other side, I do have paying customers. So I mean, what am I talking about? I mean, this is working. This is great. It's solving a problem. Again, I am in the business of solving a problem for small Quebec-based companies. This is what I should focus on. I'm not in the business of building the perfect, system in terms of code.
No.
But this is hard. This is hard on me because I do like, and it's not like it's terrible. It's not like it's decently working. But yeah, it's just, it would not have been my choice, and now I'm living some uncomfortable moment.
Yeah, it is. It can feel a little bit wrong to make these decisions, right? But
well, it's a little bit like what you said earlier regarding having a potential customer that would ask you, oh, should we use Enderroll and whatnot? It's a little bit like that. If I knew what I was building, I would not have recommended me to use static backend at first. But it was not what I was building at all. I was building an app for my wife, for Christ's sake. It was supposed to be just her. So
yeah, I think the Private Gen talks a lot about how a lot of the things he built at Netflix that was just supposed to be something else. And maybe sometimes it was built for something completely different, or it was just a proof of concept, or like, so all of a sudden it's like, oh, this works, and then you run with it. It's really hard to foresee the future with these kind of things, and then you're just in it to embrace it.
Yeah, it's almost 20 years that I'm building SaaS, and I'm saying that since the beginning. The V1 is going to go away at some point. That's inevitable.
Yeah.
For all the sizes that I've seen, which are pretty small SaaS so far, but you are learning so much in the first or 2 years of a product that, at some point the V1 is just... I remember Gumroad open sourcing their V1 at some point and saying, you know what, that was the version 1 of Gumroad.
Yeah.
It's not just me. It's a known fact that it's very hard, first of all, to build because you don't have all the answers at first, and at some point it's just quote unquote best or better to just restart another application. FreshBook was a good example. They built a competitor to FreshBook because they wanted a new interface and whatever they wanted, and at some point they were happy with that, and they changed FreshBook with the new system.
Yeah,
this is kind of crazy when you think about that. But yeah, it's so I'm not sure where I will be in 1 year, but I don't see StaticBackend blocking me from having more paying customers. What if I have 10,000 paying customer? Would that be a problem? Well, probably, but I can always just spawn a lot of horizontal server. So I know the database will scale because it's a managed one. So from the StaticBackend point of view, well, I just need to spawn more droplet. Should work.
Get that up and running. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's true. I've done a lot of work where it was like they built something in X, and now we are moving it over to C because we learned a lot of things, and then we should also rewrite it in another language.
By the way,
by the way, let's get it in another language as well. Yeah.
Well, that was something else. I wanted to move to Datastar. If I were to remove StaticBackend, would not be a good moment to just say, okay, let's keep the UI. I mean the HTML structure and whatnot. Not come with a new template or whatever, but maybe it would also be time to ditch React.
Yeah.
But no, I mean this is crazy when you think about that. I cannot do that. This is not what I should be doing at the moment. I should be out there trying to reach out, trying to find potential customers and whatnot. This is not a problem at all when you think about that.
No.
Because I do have paying customers, and nobody is saying that, oh, you know what? When I click on that button, it feels slow. They are just happy that the button is just doing what they want the button to do, and that's it.
It's working.
It is working.
Yeah, it's true. No, I just think it's fun to see, like, because I've worked a lot of places where we learned some things, we built a version, and then it just to reiterate that it happens a lot that you of course you learn things, and then you just need to focus on. If you are gonna update it to another version, don't change the language. Don't do do a lot of new things. Yeah, but I think it's a lot of the same process I've had with building out and Dirtle, because I've mainly done big projects as JSON APIs, and then I've never done big Go projects that was MVC, So there's also a lot of like iterating on these kind of things, and if this place is in a completely different place now than it were close to a year ago when I started out building it. So yeah, it's just the nature of building things, and then you just need to be adaptable.
Well, absolutely, and one could say, well, AI could help with that, but I cannot trust an LLM with that very critical part. If I would have so many things to review. It's we are talking about the database after all. It needs to work. I know that StaticBackend is working. I know it because it's there since 2020. I mean, there's no question that it updated a wrong rows or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the LLMs could do, but wow, no, I would not feel comfortable at all trusting an LLM to do that.
No, and also that is where you would, you could help prove hypotheses or test certain things, right? But the whole the whole crowd of, you just point the LLM at a spec and then let like use/goal, which is one of the new features they have. So it just keeps working on this goal forever until it's done. Yeah, I'm not buying that is the best way, because like I also talked of last, like the work is the work. That is what you need to do to understand the domain, right? It's and yes, the LLM can assist you with it, but for like I could also just ask Claude to be like, hey, build me a replica of Rails in Go, but I doubt it would have worked well, because it still needs to be adapted to the quote unquote quirks of Go, or how Go works, and blah blah blah. And that is where you need real things, and you need real projects, and you need opinions. And the most overly used word this year is probably going to be you need taste to make that work really well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. And I don't want my code to to not be, well, not quote unquote perfect, or I know that the LLM could probably do a lot of it, but I mean, wash the Go code that is creating it's I don't like it. I'm not a fan of what it's outputting. I was doing that at first, but I prefer to continue to write it. Like you were saying the other day, it's taking a little bit longer. So what?
Yeah.
So what? It's working like I want. It's written like I want. It's using the Go idiom and whatnot. I mean, this is totally good.
Yeah. That things should take time, and also we're starting to see it more. Actually, the what's his name? He's the guy who has the Pragmatic Engineer newsletter. I can't remember his name right now. He used to be an engineering manager at Uber. He also did a big talk where it's like you need to slow down, slow down to build good things, right? What is actually his name? I think I still have it on my to-do list to watch his talk, but he generally has some interesting takes on things. What is his name?
I don't.
I'm gonna butcher this. Gagali Oros. Oh, yeah. Sorry if he's listening. I'm sorry.
But that does not ring a bell at all. Huh.
No, the pragmatic engineer newsletter. He has often some interesting talks and interesting podcasts. I think that's very worthwhile listening to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So is it Go related?
Sometimes I guess they wrote a lot of Go at
Uber.
At Uber, right? But I think he's moved. I think this is what he does now full time. So, but he had Kelsey Hightower on at the start of June. He had the DH8. He had Dax. He had a lot of people, a lot of interesting people. It's quite big.
Nice.
You can definitely find some Go related stuff once in a while, but I think he's moving more onto broader software engineering topics. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We'll try to have that in the show notes.
Yeah.
I'm not posting very good show notes these days. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need to. That's why we need to get LLM to start.
Well, exactly.
Doing some work.
Exactly. All my minutes of my days, even recording this podcast, I need to do something very quick today actually to convert someone, because people are complaining that their current solution does not have X, and if we were to do that, they would probably move. So when I hear something like that, I'm jumping on the keyboard and I just try to implement that. So
yeah, tend to the customers.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I don't know. I don't know if it's My wife is maintaining the Facebook page. Like I was saying, I don't have an account there. It's like we are at 80 people now on the page. And I was like, this is good. This is good. It's already just 1.5 week.
Yeah.
There is something going on. Especially, just the closing dot, especially with the United States, the Canadian at the moment are looking for local solution for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
and not just for eating locally and whatnot, but they push ourselves to, I don't know, to just buy Canadian first now, and I think I'm waving that wave. If
Yeah.
if-
Yeah, I got a localization push.
Yeah, localization is a big thing, but the Canadian movement at the moment, not trying to encourage local businesses instead of going to the U.S. Market and whatnot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I probably used a loaded word there. I meant localization in the word that you want to buy stuff from
Oh yeah, local. Yeah.
locally
Yeah.
from America. Yeah, because I've also heard that with Deploy Quit that you should probably position this as a US
Yeah.
alternative, and I'm like maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's tricky. I'm not wording anything against the U.S. I'm just wording it like we are Canadian. We are from Quebec. We speak we speak French, and because we are still like 8 millions French Canadian in Quebec. This is our first language in here. So even though Canada is mostly English, it's a bilingual country, but my province is mainly, well, it's not mainly, it's French here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would then have to do it in Catalan, which is gonna be tough.
yeah, yeah, it's like well, yeah, it's a little bit similar in Spain. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. We tried to separate long time ago to have our own country, but we are not there anymore. I think Canada is great. We are strong in the Canada, and I think that's what resonates with people at the moment that we are talking to. They are very happy to first get some kind of support and some kind of support in French, because those bigger companies just don't talk to their customer anymore.
No. Yeah, no. That's they fired all the people and put all the LLMs in charge of that.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Gonna be interesting to see how long it lasts.
I don't know. Yeah, seems to not bother a huge portion of people, which is.
But it's also because it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. Because I talked to a guy down here in Barcelona where he has done a lot of very successful startups and was investing in some companies that did these kind of like customer service chatbots. And he was like, there is so much money in that space right now, and it makes sense if you can not have an entire full-on department to handle the customer support, and they work 24/7. And like I get it, but I also think you're seeing like you can immediately tell when you open a chat box and you're talking to a robot, and it's just like I just spam human like as much as until I get to talk to a human, right? Because I can go and search your FAQ or your docs page. Like I can do that if I'm at this point where I need help. I don't want someone to like ChatGPT to summarize their docs for me, right?
Totally. Yeah. We are living in a strange world. I think that will be the closing thoughts for today.
Strange world, yeah.
Strange world, yeah.
All right, man.
Stay tuned. We have two guests that are coming very very soon. So Lee Anthony from the Wells Project and Thorsten Ball.
Yeah,
it's coming up this week.
It's gonna be good. Right. Talk to you later, man.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.